You're so welcome. And just so that you know that that you're in the right place. You're so welcome. And just so that you know that that you're in the right place. Um, this is a space for you if you already hold circles and hold space in your life. It's also for you if that's something you'd like to be doing, like you dream of gathering women together in circle, or it might not necessarily be about holding space for circles for you. It might be more about holding space in other ways, and you want to deepen your capacity to do that. And we wondered if we could, yeah, kick off the session by asking you all um, why, yeah, what you're hoping to receive from this time together, what inspired you to say yes to come. And if you could share that in the chat, that would be great. Thank you, Rachel. Rachel saying the word devoted called me, and exploration of what it is about some circles that means you drop and feel included, and other times not so much. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to come off your mute and go, hmm. Yeah, already. I'm like, yes.
Yes. And Nina, I'm here to spend time with you two lovely women. I'm so glad you're here, Nina, and
Mm,
learn about more about what it is to hold circles. I feel there's still so much to learn.
yeah,
Yes.
thank you. Thank you for being here. And Nina, I've known for three decades now, nearly. So Nina's witnessed the journey.
Mm. Who else would like to share?
Mm,
Nice if we could share a couple more.
there's lots of typing, I think.
Yeah, good. We'll wait. Thanks, Marion. Very interested in A, exploring circling more, and B, seeing people who are relatively local to this area. I've worked mostly individually, but I've also been part of many groups, especially through NVC, Nonviolent Compassionate Communication, through Quakers, and through focusing communities. Yeah,
Mm,
thanks, Marion. And Emanuela, I felt inspired to come as I would love to deepen the way I facilitate circles, and what I hope to get from our time together is inspiration. Gorgeous. Tanya, I feel a bit like deviating from our loose plan already, and I'm asking you
go
if
for
you
it.
would, if you would um, open the space for us
Mm,
now that we've all landed together.
mm,
I'll just share
thank
from Abby before we do that. Abby
Yeah.
says, I'm about to qualify as a counsellor, and the words holding space really called to me.
Mm.
Thanks,
Good to
Abby.
see you, Abby. I haven't seen you for years. Abby used to come to my yoga classes many, many moons ago. Beautiful to see you here. Wow. Yeah, it's good to be here with you all. Thank you. And yeah, I'm just drawn back to the first post. The word devoted called to me, and the word devoted called to me in dreams, in out when I was out walking with my dogs. The word devoted just kept dropping in. Devoted, devoted. What is it to be devoted in this lifetime? And this is what I am devoted to, is to bringing these spaces together. And in the devotion, there is a piece that that really speaks to me, which is stepping across a threshold from everyday life to sacred time, if that resonates with you, or to timeless space, or to a space where we presence ourselves a little bit more than we would maybe have an hour ago. And so in order to do that, I'd love to invite us to all settle in, and I always include myself in that, and Sophie in that, and all of you in that, for us all to settle in. You've likely had many other things that you've been doing today, and this is a time that we can just, sink in a little bit more. And in doing so, I'd love to offer a few words to you. And so if it feels comfortable to lean back and lean in, how do we find this space inspirational? That's been a request in the chat box. How can it be both inspirational and restorative? Like, who doesn't need restoration in this day and age? And so I invite you just for the next few moments to lean back and find a place of comfort and sink in. Yeah. And you may or may not know anyone in this space beyond Sophie and myself, but I really believe that there is no, there is no, there is mystery as to why we've come together, actually, is what I want to say. There's a mystery in why we've come together, what will come from this space. And this is one of the gifts of dropping in together, is to be with the mystery of life. And in order to be with the mystery of life and the gifts from the mystery of life, we have to become more present, even if it's just 1 or 2%. And so inviting you to bring your human body into this space, and maybe there's a stretch or a sigh, a little wiggle, a bit of movement. You are of human body. How do you meet your human body? What does your body need right now? Is there a place that you'd like to squeeze or stroke, roll, unhinge? About all the areas that we might carry tension, the temples, the jaw, shoulders, collarbones, around the chest, the ribs, the belly, hips, all around the pelvis. Is there a way that you can find a little more comfort in your body? Your body, your human earth suit. And if it feels good for you, and to know that everything that is shared here is an offering, it's an invitation, you don't have to do anything at all. This is an invitational space. You can come and be however you want to be. If it feels good for you to take a few breaths and to witness your breath, your life force energy, please notice your breath for a moment. You might feel stuck, it might feel short, it might feel spacious and long, and everything in between. Can we notice with curiosity, with love, and compassion? And notice how you're arriving here in this space. I like to imagine, even if we're in Zoom, that we've come in through a door and the shoes have been kicked off and the bags have been put down, and we're landing into a space moment by moment, step by step, from that very first moment we arrive in our human bodies with all our lived experiences. How would it feel to kick off your shoes and put down your bag and find a place to be with your humanness, however you are, to be welcomed? Maybe, like me, there's been moments where you haven't felt so welcomed, and Maybe you're suspicious when you hear the word welcome. I know I can be sometimes, but maybe, just maybe, in this space, there's a little more belief of you're welcome here. However you are, we can welcome you here. We can welcome each other here. All of us carrying a lifetime of experiences, all the journeys we've been on, the moments of heartbreak, the moments of joy, of courage, of tenderness and resilience, all within us, all the stories that we carry. And here we are together, arriving. And before we came together, there would have been many, many people that gathered in circle together. Some of these people you might know of, you might know their names of your ancestors. Some you might not know. The known and unknown, those that came before us, carving out the way. And I often wonder how people that did come before me, us, gathered. Did they gather like us? Well, I doubt they would have gathered in Zoom. What a luxury this is for us to come together. But they likely would have gathered around fires, kitchen tables, under trees, by the riverside, in temples, village squares. I wonder how your ancestors gathered. They would have done. People have gathered for years, coming together in circles. This is old technology. It is ancient. So this evening is as much of learning as it is of remembering how to be together, what it is to be human, how we make sense of being alive. There is a remembering in each and every one of us. And it sits right underneath the layers of modern life, of the noise and the busyness. People share often in circles how fast it feels life has become. And it is in this space of togetherness that we can maybe find a fuller breath that allows us to say, we're going to rebel against that, and presence, and slow down in our own good time, and remember the sacredness of life, the sacredness of being human, where we don't have to perform. We can simply be in relationship together. So the wish for you this evening is of remembering. Or is it that you're devoted to? So I'd like to invite us to pause for a moment. Take a few moments of quiet. And then we'll light a candle to guide our way. And so now I'm going to light this candle. I light a candle at the beginning of every circle and snuff it out at the end of the circle. And the candle, again, just as a fireside, has been used for many years as a remember of the light. And often I'll sit for a moment and look at the flickering flame and how it moves. It's different every single time. Every single circle has its own wisdom, has its own intelligence, just like the candle does so. And I hope it will stay light, because I do have a fan to the side. Number one, because it's hot, and number two, because I'm menopausal. And so I light this candle with love and in care for our ancestors, for those that came before us, for benevolent ancestors, and for each and every one of you here and anyone else that watches this in the future, and for those that are yet to come, for the younger beings on this planet. And may we be devoted in this space to all of life. Thank you. Thank you.
Tanya. That was amazing. I was just yawning through that.
Mm.
And this is what happens when I hang out with you. It's my body somehow starts to clock it. It feels a bit safer,
Yeah.
can relax, nervous system starts to regulate, and it's something we're going to speak to hopefully later. The role of like nervous system
Mm.
regulation in creating these circles that offer true belonging. Um, but I realize there's a practical thing we didn't say at the beginning, which is how long we're going to be together for, which is for an hour and a half. So I wanted to just clock that. We have, yeah, an hour and a bit from now. And Tanya, I wanted to ask you to share some of your story. You know, the way you hold space for me feels like so fluid, so liquid. It feels like
Mhm.
it's just right arising effortlessly through you. And I imagine it hasn't always been that way. Maybe it has. But I wonder, yeah, if you could just share a bit about, yeah, what inspired you to become a circle guide and some of your journey, you know, what you've encountered along the way. See what you feel moved to
Mm.
share.
Thank you. So it's interesting. What inspired me to become a circle guide is there was never ever really a point that I went, I'm going to become a circle guide. That's what I'm going to do now. It's that I've been shaped by life. And actually, if I really journey back through my life, I go all the way back to being a little girl. And as a little girl, feeling just a deep sense of not belonging and not really fitting into society. And as I travel through the years, and I notice I kind of doing this, I want to spiral. As I spiral through the years, I start to see how many of my lived experiences shaped the moment that I suddenly went, I'm a circle facilitator, and now I'm holding trainings. And for me, my life has been shaped by my own lived experience, but also this deep curiosity that started really early on about what it is to be human, which led me on a path of body work for years from the moment I left college. How old would I have been? Like late teens, leaving college as a body worker, in really deeply inspired about the physical form, which then led me onto the path of yoga and spirituality and exploring what it is to practice from a path of yoga. And in my yoga training, I was sparked by the mindfulness part, which then inspired me about to the mind and how we think and why we think. And I became a mindfulness teacher and was holding mindfulness courses for years. And actually, I just want to drop into a story there. It was on one of my mindfulness courses. This was long before I knew anything about circles or the technology of circles. It was a really stormy night, and hardly anyone turned up. There was this really small group. It was winter, it was stormy. And I'd been working in rows, I was standing with my flip chart and I was the teacher, and I said, let's not do that tonight. Let's gather in a circle, bring the chairs around. And this moment has a visceral feeling in my body of a moment of shift for me, where I was like, oh, that felt so different than me teaching. There was something that came alive, which I now understand was an intelligence that came through the space between us, which I call the field. But I'd never heard of circles. I didn't know what they were at that particular point. And then later on, further down the line, and teaching yoga, holding mindfulness courses, I found myself in a circle space and found it quite edgy, really quite uncomfortable to begin with. Like, how quick is this going to finish? How quickly can I get out the door? I feel really exposed and vulnerable, and I'm sure anyone that's sat in their first circle might well know that feeling. But for some reason, I kept going back and I kept going back, and I just kept dropping in over the years, deeper and deeper into circle spaces. And the deeper I dropped, the deeper the circles became. And I found myself in like long form circles. I was in one circle for a year and a half with people, and it went really deep. And it was in that circle where I could see what could go horribly wrong. That was at the time really challenging, but now it was such good medicine. So I still had this thread over the years of my own lived experience of not belonging, and that never left me. What, where were the circles that I felt a sense of belonging, even when it was hard, even when it was gritty, even when it was comfortable? And what then happened in the circles where it didn't feel so good, where it just felt left fractured. I left feeling like that doesn't feel good for me. And then the understanding of that doesn't feel good for me at a deep human level. So then at the deep human level, I started to explore the nervous system, the somatics, the language of my body, and deepening in, journeying, deepening, and just being devoted to going to circles. And I can really see as I look back, there are so many moments where I could have ejected and gone, too much. I don't want to do this. This is too painful, too hard, too messy. But for some reason, my soul path was like, keep going, keep going, keep going. And I continued to go until I reached a point where there was enough understanding, enough wisdom, and enough deep desire in me to share it with others. Like I've walked this, I've walked through the fire, and now it's time to create something that offers both structure and emergence, and enough structure that emergence can come through in a circle space. And so I don't know if that's answered your question. That's where I've gone on my wiggly path, but
Brilliant.
really, yeah, like walking it.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel the passion in you as you're talking,
Mm,
and knowing much of your story as I do, it's this belonging thread
mm,
has been so alive for you for lots of different reasons. Yeah, and yes, thank you.
mm.
It's beautiful to hear more of your story.
Yeah, thank you.
We're gonna explore what it looks like to like deepen into this technology of circle. I love the way you
Mm,
described that. And how to create this kind of belonging. And before we do, it feels important to me to name some of the um, resistance or the fears that we can hold as people wanting to hold circles, or the beliefs that we might have about our capacity to do it or not.
mm,
And I want to invite all of us into a journaling practice actually um, around that question. But before we go into that, I just want to name some of the things that have been alive in me, less now, but more earlier on, although some of them are still alive, to kind of stir the cauldron.
mm.
So, and these are things I've heard from the women and folks that I work with too. And maybe you can drop some others in, Tanya, if they pop up for you while I'm talking. So, some of the fears or beliefs that can get in the way, I need to be smarter or more experienced or look or sound different, like AKA, like I need to be more XYZ in order to be able to hold good circles. Another thing that you've named to me, Tanya, is I don't know enough. Like I don't have enough to teach. Um, or this one is still alive in me for sure. I'm scared I'm going to get it wrong. I'm scared I'm going to cause harm. It's all going to go wrong in some way. So they're just some of the things that can come up. Do any come up for you as I'm talking, Tanya?
Yes, so two particular words that come up for me that I hear time and time again. Number one would be rage. What happens if there's rage in the space? And number two is grief, like
Yeah.
the holding of grief. I'm just seeing if there's anything else. Yeah, I think what you touched on there, Sophie, the qualified. Am I qualified enough to do this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's all take a couple of minutes with this question. Um, yeah, what holds you back and what fears do you have around holding space or offering circles? I'll drop that in the chat, if any. What holds you back and what fears do you have around holding space or offering circles? when you're ready, wrap that up, and it would be great to hear from you in the chat, or also we could hear from a couple of women voice to voice as well. If you'd like to share your voice, you could raise your hand. And in the meantime, I'll read from Nina. The not wanting to cause harm one for sure. And also, what if someone has a trauma response? Yeah. Thank you. And Marion, that if some people don't really understand the overall purpose, it could start to get a very irritable atmosphere. Yes, that the guide or leader definitely needs a partner to help observe and be aware of everybody. Yeah. I really feel that one. Who would like to share voice to voice? It'd be great to hear from you. One of my shaky moments in circle when I'm like, is anyone going to share? Is it okay if no one shares?
You can put that in the chat box because that is actually one to be able to hold the silent space, to allow enough space for something to come through
Yes.
and not to take it personally if someone does, if no one shares. Yeah, Rachel. Yeah, I'd love to hear from you.
There can be sometimes that feeling of like, oh my God, well, I know what to do. Whatever the thing is that might come up, but will I know how will I know how to respond? Will I
Yes.
be able to trust enough for, yeah, that I think would be my fear.
Yes.
Mm.
Thank you.
Do you want me to respond to some of these?
Yeah, I was going
Be
to
good.
say next, it would be great to hear. I mean, I've got a
Yeah,
few different questions about them, but yeah, whatever's you're feeling called to respond would be great.
yeah, that I just, yeah, to Rachel's actually, like, will I know what to do? You know, then it comes back to that again. It's like, what could come up? Will I know how to respond? Will I know what to do? And the mystery of circle, and to me, that's why circle is one of the bravest places. It takes a lot of courage to step into a place where we don't know what will come through. And I really just want to pause after that and just say, and just let that sink in. That it is a courageous space. Like if I take myself back to teaching yoga, I knew what I would go in to teach, and I knew what it would look like. You know, it might go a little bit off, but yeah, I was there, I was teaching, I was at the front, and this is more inclusive. It's much more emergent. It's like anything could happen within reason. I mean, we hold enough structure and awareness. But what I'd like to say to that is, number one, over time, for me, has built trust. Yeah, to begin with, I'm in a different place now than I was when I held my first circle. You know, just by nature, over time, it's built trust. Number two, really understanding the wisdom of my nervous system beyond logic and information, but actually my nervous system in group spaces. Because when Sophie and I, we've talked about this, haven't we? When we come into a group space, the nervous system for each of us can react in a certain way. And so actually really having an understanding of that for me has been one of the most valuable things. And from that place, being able to stay enough in my experience, my holding as a facilitator, and I hear this word regulated, right? At the moment, it's like it's been the buzzword, right? Are you regulated enough? But actually to be grounded enough in my own self that what arises, I haven't fallen into it. And have a particular practice on the training, which we practice, like where do you lose yourself in the circle? When do you go into someone else's experience, and how can you stay in your own experience and with enough love and humanity to meet the other person or the other people? And from that place and the deep knowing that we're human, like stuff's going to come up in circles, and to normalize that, to me, it's allowed me to bring more and more of my humanity online, and in doing so, people bring more and more of their humanity online, rather than somebody's grieving over there, I don't know what to do. It's like, oh, okay, there's a human there that's like in a lot of pain. How can I meet this moment and also have a care of the circle as well? So, and this is another important piece, is that one person's experience can easily flood a circle if we're not aware of the whole group. If we've fallen into that experience, the circle will, you'll feel it. The circle will be off. The circle's kind of, yeah, people go away kind of feeling like, oh, I don't know what just happened, but something felt really off. For me, I would, the majority of my time, and I would go to say a bit further to say all of my time, place the health of the circle at the forefront of the experience, whilst also the humanity of the human in that moment. And it's a skill. It's taken me time to learn that. Does that answer your question, Rachel? Yeah. Yeah.
Something that comes up for me hearing you talk is I'm very familiar with sitting with one person and allowing emergence. Like, I never know what's going to happen when I sit down in a session. I've got my ideas, like you said, there's some structure. But one of the things that I feel fear about, or I feel, yeah, is an edge for me, is like, but when there's many there, there's the dynamics between people, and particularly between women. Like, so much can come up between women, that this sister wound. Yeah. And how to hold what comes up between people in the space. Yeah.
Yeah, sister wound, the witch wound. We how far back do we want to go? There's wounding, the family wounding. It's like we've all been wounded. I have yet to meet a person that hasn't been wounded by life, that hasn't been wounded in collective spaces, be it the family system, the school systems. It's like we step into circle wounded. And again, it's like it's normalizing that. It's like life will wound us. And we're going to step in with that. And then it's in that cauldron, in that collective space. What arises for me in that is the importance of our intention. Like, why are we holding a particular circle? What are we calling in? What are our agreements? When we veer off the path, where do we bring back? We have a shared agreement. Are you stepping into that shared agreement? And we have a journey. Like, there's a journey. There's an arc. I do this in descent or ascent. There's an arc that we're following, so we know as a facilitator where we're traveling with that group. And to even just say, just calling you back to remind you, this is where we're traveling tonight. Yeah, this is what people signed up for. Yeah, when they come into a circle, people come in for a reason. And so to really have that in our own inner world that we're holding, it's like we've got a stake in the ground for where we're journeying together. And of course humanity is going to come up, and of course there's going to be moments where somebody reminds us of our mother or our annoying sister. There's going to be those moments, and the absolute gift of circle is that it can be reparative. And for me, it's been such a deeply repairing place for many of the wounds I have experienced. And in moments I've been in circle where it's been wounding, and I look back now and go, and a gift for me to see, what would I do differently? Why didn't that work? Like, what happened in that circle that felt so off? Okay, there we go. Right. Build something through that.
I love the way you describe like the arc that we're holding, and as the circle facilitator, it's our job to call people back. This is the journey we're taking. This is what we signed up for, and it makes me think of Marion's question around, like, what if people don't really understand the overall purpose? It can start to get irritable, and I've been in those circles where it's like everything starts to waft around, like it isn't contained. Yeah.
Yeah, wafty circles. Yeah, I don't really go to any more wafty circles, but there's a time and a place for some people that's exactly what they need at the time, right? But there is such value in having clarity as to why you're holding your circle. Who is it for? Who are you inviting in? Who is it inclusive to? And who is it exclusive to? And to be really clear on that is so important. Like for me, I if I see a circle, let's say I see a circle for men, I look at it and I'm like, that doesn't include me. That's fine. I know I'm not going to be going into it. Like, the desire, of course, as a human is to be inclusive to every single person on this planet. You know, everybody can come in, but maybe, just maybe, what the work I'm doing at a particular time, like devoted, is for a particular kind of person. And so to, again, come back, hold the stake in the ground for that, and drop down a layer more in that, and be really tuned into the language around who is included in the spaces that we hold. Do you want me to go into that a bit more?
Totally. Yeah, definitely. I had a question about it for later, but let's go
Yeah.
now.
Go on, bring me your question. Let's deepen in.
Yeah, because in a bit we're going to speak about some of the principles that you teach in Devoted, and inclusive facilitation is one of them. And let me just look at my notes. Yeah, it's what you're talking about. You know, the importance of reflecting on who might feel welcome in a circle space and who might not, and why.
Well, 2 years ago, I birthed a body of work called The Art of Welcome. And that, again, you know, as I go back, it was all the way from my like little girl all the way to my 51-year-old who just had this inspiration. It was with one other person, and to really dive deeper into what is it to feel welcome when we enter a space. And for me, what has supported me over and over again is the person holding the space has an awareness of what it might be like not to feel welcomed. And I'll give you an example. As a mixed race woman, which is clear, if I go into a circle with a room of all white-bodied people, and the facilitator just simply names it, you know, you're welcome here, whatever the color of your skin, and acknowledges in that moment what I might be feeling like. Oh, do I fit here? You know, is this a place for me? Is this okay? Is it okay with neurodivergence, with a body that may not be as able to do the things as the other people in this space? Is to have, as a facilitator, enough of an understanding to widen our lens beyond our own lived experience to understand. Like, we can't understand everything. We haven't got enough life, right? We're just not going to be here long enough to understand everybody's lived experience. But to have enough understanding of other people's experience, to me, is absolutely vital in this day and age. And we do a piece of work in the Devoted training, which is all around welcoming. And we look at power, how power can show up in circles, because there is, you know, I've heard many people say there's no hierarchy in circle. I'm like, to me, that's not true, because people have invested time, sometimes money, to come into my space. There's already a power dynamic there. Yeah. I'm holding the space overall, and I might hold it lightly, but I'm still holding it. So already, if I were to say, right, we're closing the circle right this moment, that's it, we're done. I could do it here, close the Zoom right now, it's done.
Done.
Yeah, done. We close it. There's power in the space. And how do we hold the power within health and acknowledge that yes, this is a beautiful space. There is wisdom in every single seat. I learn as much from every circle I hold as I believe the people that come. But how do we acknowledge and be really real and authentic in this is in the room? This is in the room, and so I will name it. And what I've heard time and time again is, in naming it, nervous systems go, oh, okay, I can be here. And in the nervous systems, relaxing, dropping enough, maybe not relaxing at this point, maybe just, you know, like easing enough for enough comfort to be in this space, we can go deeper. And we've been talking about aliveness. It's like, there's your first key to the door of aliveness. Say what's in the room, speak it out.
Yeah.
People feel it. If a person holding the space isn't speaking from that place, I felt it. We've shared. People feel it.
Yeah.
If there's a terror in the nervous system of the holder, people feel it. If there's a terror of where it could go, it's like, be really clear. It's like, if there's no capacity for a facilitator to hold anger, and for me, for a long time, I had to go and do my own work with my own rage and my own anger, and allow myself to expand my own range enough to be able to hold it in circle spaces. It's like, I'm honest about that, right? Not like, oh, I'll try and blag it, and if it happens, I'm like, yeah.
What I'm hearing from you is that it's important for us to get to know ourselves enough to know what we have got capacity to hold, and what we not right now have capacity to hold, and then to go and do our own work to stretch not stretch, but open up our
Yeah,
capacity.
I mean, it's increasing the range and knowing our own scope of practice. It's like, where are we right now? And let's be real from that place. And the beauty of it, and this is where the mystery and intelligence of life comes through for me. The beauty of it is that once we're really clear, the people come in, the clarity, the whole field clears up. There's more clarity, so the people come in to meet that space. And I don't know how that works. It's beyond my mind, but it happens. And I've seen it happen again and again.
Yeah, I've experienced it too. It's like, there's this like collective sigh and deepening and opening, and then everyone can bring more of themselves in. I'm curious to hear from the circle. Yeah, what's stirring in you from what Tanya is sharing? What's feeling important? Yeah, what would you like to share or ask about? And you can wave or raise your hand. And there's a question from Emanuela. How can you name not being inclusive of transgender women in circles for women born in a female body? This is something I continue to struggle of in not being inclusive. Big
Let's read
question.
that again. How can you name not being inclusive? Sorry, I'm squinting because I haven't got my glasses on. How can you name not being inclusive of transgender women in circles for women born in a female body? I mean, I would say, if I were holding a circle, it would be for women born in a female body. This is a tricky one, and I don't know what you think, Sophie. This is one I've danced with over the years.
Me too.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, and it changes dramatically. If you look at my bookshelf, you will see there are books upon books. Life isn't binary. Do better. What else do we have? Gender. Really exploring this, and I still struggle with this one. I've had a transgender woman in my circles, and it was beautiful. It was a wonderful experience. I think again, it's coming down to the language that speaks to you. What speaks to you? Because something I noticed, particularly, it was all around lockdown, and I think this is where a lot of people were very activated in their nervous system. There was a lot of calling out and culture cancelling, just like, you're getting it wrong. We're going to get it wrong. Yeah. This is an inclusive space for femme bodies. I've got Lee on this call actually, who would be, I don't know, Lee, if you can speak into this, but Lee's just finished the training. I know Lee's on another work call, but this is a beautiful area of expertise for Lee, and yeah, she's like, I'll be here, but I've got to build a work call, so I'll have you in the background, and I don't, yeah. Yeah, Lee came to the devoted training. She was on the last training, and is creating space for transgender women, for queer women. And so, for me, scope of practice, my circles would include transgender women. If I've only ever knowingly had one transgender woman in my space. but it's not my area of expertise. So there's my scope of practice. It's not my area of expertise, and I'm also in the journey with that, the language around that, rather than, I could sit here and give you a really nonsense answer that you'd feel straight off that were like, but it's a journey for me. It's a journey for me. I've tried every which way to put it on my website to be inclusive, and I've reverted back to this circle is for women. I don't know what your journey's been with this, Sophie. What if you want to add?
Yeah, if for me your journey, the way you spoke about your journey with rage speaks to me here, because I had many years of growing women's networks, and people would bring questions about can transgender women join, and I, from a place of not understanding the queer experience, like the gender expansive experience, I'd be like, look, just that's not what it's about. We're building a women's network here, and there was a real ignorance there. And then I began to meet more queer folks, more gender expansive folks, read books, study, explore, open my own mind up beyond the gender binary. And now I'm in a different kind of place where, personally, I would welcome people of all gender expressions. And that's where I'm at. But yeah, I think there needs to be, and so same as you, Tanya, I'm like, then I could go on and like wax lyrical about what I think and that, but I think my point is, wherever we're at in our own journey is where we're at, and there's a lot of resources out there that we could explore and study, but we also need to be where we are right now and hold space for what we can hold space for. So I guess I'm landing in the same place as you.
Yeah, I want to add one other thing actually that's coming through to me as you're sharing that is, if we look at many of our indigenous elders and the wisdom keepers, there's just there's this sense of such a greater variety of gender expressions, right? You look towards plants and nature. I remember going to Kew Gardens once to the Queer in Nature exhibition, and just being like, we were just all so different, right? And to actually be in the acknowledgement of that, and to have a conversation with someone, like how would it be for you to come into this space? Like what can I be aware of as human to human, rather than a subsection of humans? And I think we have to be really careful with this, like, patriarchal society and the dialogue of getting it right and perfecting an answer, versus I'm here for a conversation, I'm here to grow, I'm gonna get it wrong sometimes, I am devoted to listening and learning over and over. Yeah, and I think we can learn a lot from our elders, and actually I know at some point we will touch on our elders, but to hear our wisdom keepers in this. I think we get lost really easily in this is one example, but of many ways, neurodivergence. As a woman that walks with neurodivergence, like, what's the right thing to say? Is it neurodivergent? Is it neurosparkly? It's like, actually, I'd be much more interested if you could hear my lived experience, just even briefly, and how I am. And to me, that's the richness of inclusivity, rather than the right words.
It's like taking a journey of being expanding our capacity to be with difference and bring curiosity to that. That's what I'm hearing in what you're saying.
And then the sincere words land from that place. On the website, in the description, there's a sincerity to it. People feel our sincerity.
Anything else stirring that wants to be shared before we move on to our next piece?
I just want to touch in something Nina put in there, not wanting to cause harm, which we've spoken about, but yeah, I mean, I think that's true of every holder, right? Everybody, nobody wants to go into a circle and cause harm. And for me, that's, yeah, the devotion to learning and listening. And also, what if someone has a trauma response? And to me, again, it's, it does happen. It's happened for me in circle spaces, but it's generally happened. They've been the learning spaces for me of how I don't want to hold often, and there's no guarantee as to what will emerge in a moment. And some of the moments that I've had a response can be deeply healing. And there's so much that comes with the word trauma. It's so loaded nowadays. Trauma. I don't know if that's just the algorithms for me on Instagram, but every day there's just like, I get bombarded with trauma. But for me, it's where we've been wounded in our humanity and our body's bodily expression of it. And then in that moment, how do we meet it? Or how do we meet the human that is, there's an expression coming through of a place that's hurt. Yeah. And how do we meet that moment? And that's the piece that really matters for me. And my wish is that circles do not create more trauma. There's another layer, is if you're in a circle that you're leaving with more trauma than you came in with, I'd be asking some questions about that. And there's absolutely no guarantee in any circle that it might not cause harm to a person. It's just there's no guarantee. We're like, there's no guarantee that I step out my house and somebody doesn't say something that could have an impact on any given moment. But again, I return back to the intention and the integrity and the sincerity and the love.
Yeah. And I feel like I've heard you say this, Tanya, but a lot of the trauma experience is relational and often actually about being in groups and group dynamics. And so one of the places that we can receive the deepest healing is when we are in a circle with others. So yeah, there's so much potential for meeting, healing, supporting the trauma that comes up in us.
Yeah. If the wounding happens in relationship, it has to heal in relationship. I've never seen anything else that would support me to say otherwise to this point. Because otherwise, in the moments I've convinced myself over the years that might be different, I've got it, I can do this on my own, I'm an individual, I'm fine, my own self-care, my own self-journey. And of course there's time for that and it can be beautiful, but relational healing heals in relationship.
Beautiful. Thank you, love. But for the next piece, what I wanted to guide us into is there are these 6, do you call them pillars in Devoted that you move through? And I wanted to ask you some questions about these different pillars and what they can teach us about how to hold space. The cool thing is, because of the wonderful emergence of life, like you've spoken to many of these pieces already, which is great, but there are a couple that we haven't heard about yet, I think. So I just want to look through them. So the first 2 pillars are about rooting and resourcing. So like finding our earth and our ground, I guess. Although I'm going to find out in September. I'll get my experience of it. And you talk about holding ourselves before we hold others. And I wondered if you could say a few words about what that means to hold ourselves before we hold others. What does that look like?
Yeah, so thank you. So the first module is about really learning about ourselves. So it's an inward journey to really get clear on how our own nervous system is in groups, because as soon as the journey starts, as soon as the training starts, we're in circle together, which is why I keep it intentionally as a small group, so because we're circling together. So already we, like, as you step in, you're in your own space. So it's all around putting the roots in. We put our roots into the earth and we put them in and we root them down and we water them. And in that water, we bring nourishment. And that nourishment is around understanding our own nervous systems. So there is training, knowledge, wisdom around the nervous system. And I work from a place of like mobilized or immobilized. Where we have a lot of energy would be mobilized. We might find that shows up in group spaces where, in fact, I'll just park that for a minute because we're not going to go into the group spaces, but no, actually, let's bring it. In a group space, mobilized energy looks like, we get very quick and we want to fix and we want, it's got this kind of energy. It's where in nervous system training, it might be seen as fight flight. We're in that, like, there's a lot of energy. There's more energy than is needed to meet a moment or the moment that we're in. And then immobilized, it's more earthy. Like, mobilized is like up and out, immobilized down and out. So this might be our more, I'm tired, I don't feel resourced, I don't want to get out of bed, everything feels heavy, flop, feel frozen. So we're learning about the nervous system, and one of the little nuggets that I just want to pop here is this is a good one, which is around fawning, where we start to talk about fawning. How many of us as women have fawned in life? Like, it's been such a journey for me with fawning, and I can tell now because there's a different smile that I have if I'm, my cheeks. So we're starting to learn more about ourselves, and as someone that I've spent years learning about, I started learning the nervous system when I was 16. Years and years of learning anatomy and physiology at college and in my training when I was very young. And she's off, there we go, there's a good release. And then, but this, to me is like actually the humanness of our inner world. And to really learn and tune in whilst we're in circle. So you then in circle is tuning in to your inner world to gather more information. Where do you feel resourced? Where do you feel like you have enough capacity in your life? Also, part of the training, which I think is such a gift, is to look towards how we're living. Do we live a life that gives us enough capacity to show up for others? And then we start to deepen into what resources can we add before we do any other work. It's like pouring it into ourselves. What resources can we add in? I'm still working with this. That will allow us to have more spaciousness, more capacity. And one of the greatest gifts of being in circle with others is it's such a resource to be in a collective space where there's support. The support in the last round of Devoted, and Lee, who's on the call, was in the last round, as I said. The support that was offered in that circle for all of the women there was beautiful, and it continues. The journey's completed, but it's still there. I'm still seeing it in the group messages. So we're really journeying inwards, putting the roots in. Yeah, if you were going to put a plant in to the ground, you'd put it in, you'd put the roots in, you'd bring good soil, you'd water, you'd bring nutrients. And that's what the first two modules are about: learning, understanding, deepening in through the roots.
And then the next two pillars, I think, belong and hold. A big part of that was inclusive facilitation, which it has been, I feel like we've spoken to that. And this one feels really rich for me, like strengthening our capacity to witness without fixing. I've got a slightly hoarse voice because I did a proper roar about half an hour before our session, because my 5-year-old said to my husband, "Can you hold my ice lolly without licking it?" And he said, "Sure." And then he immediately licked it. And my 5-year-old went into a huge meltdown, and I was furious. Um, and I went into another room and roared. And then I was like, "Why did I do that?" Because now I'm losing my voice. But there was this longing to fix that situation, and it's like a big back and forth with me and my husband. I know it's quite common in partnerships, but yeah, so that's an edge for me.
Mm.
And especially in circle, because it's, if I can see someone's uncomfortable, I can easily go into an over responsible space, lean in too much, overgive, and like you pointed to earlier, like lose track of the whole
Yeah.
circle, I imagine.
And just like me, and which is why I created a beautiful practice, which many of the women shared as one of the most profound practices, which is to explore in our relational space. Where do I lose myself? At what point am I in your experience and I've lost myself? Okay, come back, come back. Yeah.
Yeah, like circle codependency.
Yeah, it's the thing, right?
um, and this kind of speaks to what Rachel was talking about earlier, like the trusting the intelligence that lives within the field rather than rushing in to try and fix. And I wanted to ask you a massive question, but see what comes. Like, what most supports the development of this trust in the field?
Well, it's interesting actually. So I was writing some notes before I came on this call, and I found myself writing down these notes, and I love it. Really, it really sparked something for me. It was like, what's the nervous system of the circle like? To actually consider that the group field, that intelligence in the space has its own living, beating, breathing nervous system. So there's an awareness of that. And, just as I shared at the beginning, you know, I start with resourcing myself, but we also need to resource the nervous system of the group space, which for me is one of the reasons I bring beauty into every single space I create, and ritual. And, we haven't touched on this yet, but ritual for me has been one of the most beautiful offerings that I've brought into the circle spaces. I think that's it. I'm sure it's not, but that's all I've got to say for now.
it feels like we can set up the conditions for trust, and ritual beauty sets up the conditions for that trust to move. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and just that question that we can constantly walk with when we're creating a circle. It's like, what am I calling in? What's the why for this circle? And you shared about your husband licking that lolly. I was like, oh, you didn't want to do that, did you? You didn't want to do that. But the gift of being able to apply, for me, there's a post I put on Instagram not long ago, which was how circle has supported my marriage. And I'm not sure that I would still be in my marriage if I hadn't had all the nourishment, knowing, learning, unlearning from circle spaces that I've been able to apply. So it's not just here's a nice circle, it's a like luxury to go to. This is it's work. It's reparative work. It's learning work. It's learning how to be human. And so I bring it into my space, and my skill set is pretty good in my relationship now, even if I do say so myself.
Well done.
Thanks. Not
But
always.
this is why I want to join Devoted, because when I look out at the world and how quickly things are changing and what the picture is going to look like in 5 or 10 years, none of us know. None of us really know. Not even the people, the futurologists or whatever they're called, actually don't really know at this point, because things are moving so quickly. But what I sense in me is we are going to need much more togetherness locally. And like, I love my neighbors, but we are a really varied bunch. And I want to deepen my capacity to bring people together through difference and to find our ground together and to find our way to move through conflict together. You know, I want to be skilled in that, resourced in that. So no pressure, Tanya, but that's what I'm looking for from devoted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, why not? And one thing I've noticed over and over is that the more skill and capacity and support we have, the more able we are to hold space across difference. You know, I've shared with you some of the work I've been doing at St Ethelburgers recently, which is, if anyone hasn't been, I highly, highly recommend it. St Ethelburgers is a centre of reconciliation and peace in London, and I've been holding some circle spaces, some grief spaces, and some nervous system and somatic awareness there to really like give that level of holding across difference, because we are different, we don't have to agree, you know. And if I'm in a circle and there's just like you come into the circle and you have to agree with this. I mean, I've been to circles like that, you have to agree with it, there's a dogma, it, you know. It's like the intelligent work of our times is to build enough capacity to disagree, to bring our differences, to rupture and repair. That's what's needed. There are, you know, there are so many beautiful circle spaces out there, and you know, I love them as well, where you will get a wonderful experience. And my call in this is to let's go a bit deeper than that, please, so that we are building the grit, the belonging, the togetherness, the depths of love that will support us through the times we're already in. I don't believe they're out there anymore. We're already in them.
Yeah, that's where the aliveness is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here we are. And sometimes that grit might be everybody's exhausted. Okay, let's just take this time to rest, to find enough resource to be back out in the world together.
Yeah. I want to ask you some questions about devoted. Oh, the time is moving fast. I'm the timekeeper. Come on. I'm curious if any questions are coming up from what Tanya's sharing. Just want to open space for you to bring your thoughts,
Yeah,
questions.
questions or even reflections, anything that's sparking an aliveness.
Nina.
Yeah, I really love the piece about you know, kind of where you have that practice of grounding yourself and noticing where you kind of get drawn into other people's either stories or experience or, you know, whatever's going on. And I was just wondering whether there is anything that you do after the circle. As a highly sensitive person, I can find myself really taking on other people's emotions. And I just wondered, is there anything that you would, yeah, sort of suggest, or any ideas or thoughts about, once the circle has closed, a way to kind of then move forward without, because it could be easy, I guess, to carry stuff with you afterwards, or be, I don't know, like buzzing all night and not able to sleep, which I'm sure will and may happen. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, I can speak into, it's a great question, thank you. I can speak into buzzing all night, because that is something that I have journeyed with, where I would be so alive and activated, and then like 2 in the morning, I'm still like wired. And for me, I have a whole protocol that happens when which I will do after this call as well. So I will take a bath, a small bath at the moment, because obviously there are issues with water, but I will take a bath. I have my feet on the earth. Yeah, I'll be out in my garden. So it's returning to the source of nature. I will go and tend to my vegetables that I'm growing, and I will do the things that I know will support me. The opposite of that would be if I were to meet that whoa, and then go on Netflix and, you know, go and have a big heated discussion with my husband who wouldn't be able to meet me in my aliveness, and I'd be disappointed. And it's like, go and meet life in a place that's supported and nourishment, and to have the capacity to, or the awareness to support your capacity either side. If I'm running a retreat, the 2 days after the retreat there's nothing in the diary. There's nothing in the diary. There's nothing in the diary beforehand. Oh, there's Lee. There's nothing on the diary beforehand in the run up to it. And I've learned that the hard way, of being face down halfway through running a retreat at the beginning of my journey, going, I'm so exhausted. So it's creating, you know, enough awareness, and it'll be different for every person, to have the space. So if you're holding space for anyone and you walk away feeling depleted, there's the little inner click, the nudge to say, okay, how can you resource yourself more? Where did you lose yourself in that conversation? How much of that person's story did you actually embody? And can you listen and not take it on? And it's a skill. It's taken me some time. And it's one I'm really, really keen to pass on, because it works. It works for me. I feel resourced. And the other thing I want to say about that, I've got so many things I could say, but the other thing I really want to say.
One more thing, Tanya, because then I've got questions for you about devoted.
One more thing.
One more thing.
One more thing is that when a circle has an aliveness that comes through it, it comes through you as the person holding it. Yeah, whatever it may be, whether it's grief or joy or rage or any other human expression, if it comes through the circle, it will come through you as a facilitator. I've walked away from some of the deepest spaces of grief that I've held, and I, you know, within my scope of practice, I am also a grief tender, so I've done that work. So alive to life, like that was so deeply touching, rather than I'm knackered and what just happened there. But it's been a journey. It's taken me time, and it's learning. It's keep learning, like what didn't work, and it'll be different for everyone. And so we inquire and get clear.
Thank you. And just want to acknowledge Lee's message, and I want to read it later. But I want to ask you a couple of questions about devoted first. Could you share, for those that are interested in potentially joining us, about the format, how the flow of devoted works?
Yeah, so the format is, it starts, the next round starts in September. It's for up to 12 women. So that's my cutoff at that point. So it's small, because we're journeying together, we're circling together. We journey together through 6 months, and we meet twice a month, 2 hours each time online. And then there are 2 in-person practice days, and they're held in Berkshire. Now, in the last one, I had someone travel from overseas. Lee journeyed down from Manchester. You know, people travel. It's worth it. I can tell you, they were the moments that people were like, I love it. And then there's pod practice in between, where you will be put in the pod and you'll practice each element of the devoted way, each element of the arc, depending on how you want to work it, descent or ascent. You'll practice each element of how to resource, how to hold, how to bring people in, until you start to craft your own spaces. And, you know, because we have Lee here, I want to just say, you know, you'll see what's possible if you look at Lee's Instagram, which is Sapphic Souls. It's beautiful. It's been wonderful to witness when it just, boom, there we are. It's been born, you know, it's been born from this space, and continues to grow. And what I want to say about the 2 in-person days is that I'm aware that there are people overseas and they can't make it. We have one woman who stepped in who is overseas. And so we have a little owl that is coming into the space that will act as a human in the space, that will be picking up the space so it can be witnessed from afar. And of course, it's wonderful if you can be there, and if you can't, there is my commitment to bring you in as inclusive as I possibly can.
Thank you. And if you can describe this, what would you describe that women receive from the journey? Like, what do they leave with the devoted journey?
Okay, so what did they leave with? Okay, so what I can share tomorrow with you all is I sat with every woman after the last journey. Well, nearly every woman. There were 10 women. 9 of them came in and spoke to me about the journey. So they're all on YouTube, and that will tell you more than I can tell you. They'll talk. What and actually put in some notes. Let me bring up the notes and I'll just share some of the things. Let me bring it and I can share some of the.
Just for our timings, we have 4 more minutes.
Just for our timing.
Yeah.
Extraordinary gift of learning from elders. We have 2 elders in the space, and this was really important to me that I had elders in the circle because I've learnt so much from them. And the 2 elders we have are off the charts. We have Elisa Starkweather, who created the Red Tent Circle movement, who is women in power, initiation work. I mean, if you haven't seen her, she's off the charts. I'm going to speak quickly so I can get this in. We also have Mama Lula, who is an elder from the Dagara tribe, which is a West African tribe who speaks to us about ritual and the power of ritual and what it can teach us for our life. Those 2 women coming in blew it out of the water. It was stunning to hear them. What else did we have? I actually went through and gathered some from YouTube. What has inspired me? Oh, hang on, what have we got? Extraordinary teachers, feeling so deeply held by the other women. Oh, I haven't got the right page up, so I don't want to go and keep going. I think Lee's put some notes in there.
Lee has also said, this course has honestly been life-changing for me. Thank you for sharing, Lee.
Thank you. The other women have shared their love. So Mandy actually shared, I put this, she said, and this just touched me so deeply when she said this, it's supported me to find out what true love is. Beyond romanticized Disney love. It's on my Instagram, the chat with Mandy, just a clip of what true love is in the quest to learn love. You know, and to me, I'm like, there it is. I can tell you all the things that they've learned about the somatics and the nervous system, you know, but at its core, it's what is it to be loved and to love, to bring their true humanity through. Every single person that came through the last training has taken the medicine of the journey in their unique way. And on the last in-person gathering, I literally sat down with tears rolling down my cheeks, and I just could feel each and every one of them in their medicine. And there was an inquiry, it's like, what's your medicine? And there was a clarity, and you know, you supported some of that clarity in the last journey for them to really tune into that. Every single one of us in our lives, in these spaces, and every single woman here, each and every one of you has your own medicine to bring through life. And whatever you do after this call, it's like, please bring it. We don't have time to think about, am I enough? Am I good enough? Am I too much? Am I not enough? I've been through all that, likely you have as well. It's time to bring it through. Bring it through. Find yourself a circle. I would love you to come and find yourself in the devoted circle with Sophie and I. But if that's not right for you, find yourself in a circle that will support you to deepen into life. For me, it's like, what else could be more inspiring to life than to come alive? Yeah.
Thank you. You're firing me up. I was already in, but I'm double in now. Thank you, love. I think if you're okay, Tanya, we could stay on for 5 minutes after if people have questions about devoted. But for now, to close our space together tonight, I'll say a couple of things, and then you might want to do something with your candle. Don't you, Tanya? Yeah. I'd be let's take a minute to reflect on what we've been exploring together around circles that create aliveness and belonging, and see if you can find your way to something that you're taking away, a gift or an insight or a knowing, or maybe a really important question. And when you have a sense of what that is, the thing that you're taking away, the golden nugget from today, I'd love it if you could share it in the chat as a way of completing our time together. And you can also feel free to unmute yourself and share voice to voice as well. For me, it's a knowing that I don't have to do it perfectly, and I can do it exactly as I am. I can show up exactly as I am. Emanuela, remembering what I'm devoted to. Thank you.
For me, this thing around many things, but one of them about being how we know how to do this because our ancestors did it.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
It's as much about remembering.
Mm.
Well, it's more about remembering than it is about learning. Thank you.
Nina, the collective field and the magic that brings. Yes. Thank you. Yeah, shall we complete the circle, Tanya? Yeah.
Thank you. So I'm just going to bring this candle, turn that fan on for a minute. Just going to turn my fan off for a moment. So bringing this candle light that has guided our way on our journey this evening, and as I gaze down, I just, noticing the beauty. But I want to give deep thanks to each and every one of you for your time and presence here. Thank you for being here with us. And something that I learned actually in the last journey, because I'm learning as I go, just as we all are, from Mama Lula, was that in the Dagara tradition and many other ancient traditions, always snuff the candle. We always snuff. And so she taught me to wet my fingers and put it out. And there's been quite a few burnings over my time. Because in snuffing the candle, we all came to learn that this keeps us in connection with the benevolent ancestors, the ones that really look down and will look out for us with their hands on the backs, and the ones that say, do it, this is why you're here, stay devoted. And so thank you for your time, for your presence, and for being here. And I hope to see all of you in September in the devoted space. It'd be an honor to walk alongside you. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, everyone.